So today I would love to make an offering to you who is watching this and to the entire collective. I'm going to share a story from my spiritual awakening journey, and it's all about opening up to living in the embrace of grace. I lived most of my life struggling, in pain, in deep existential loneliness, attached to a lot of distorted belief systems, really suffering a lot, being in victimhood. And I guess in essence what I'm trying to say is that I lived a lot of life not in the embrace of grace and out of alignment with love. 5 years ago, I was initiated. I had a Kundalini activation. I had an acceleration of my spiritual awakening. And as a result, there have been a lot of profound shifts that have taken place internally and externally. But one of the most beautiful, one of the most profound shifts that I've experienced is the ever-deepening presence of grace in my life, living in that embrace, living in that deep, deep love. And now that I've had the lived experience of both, one was living in abandonment and separation and lack and scarcity and unworthiness, and now living in wholeness and abundance. And I don't mean abundance in the material sense, that comes along with it, but what I mean is abundance as a state of being, abundance as wholeness, understanding the unity and oneness and living in that. And I really want people to understand that grace is always available to us. It is always available. This is one thing that I have learned in the last 5 years when I have connected the dots looking back, that grace was always there. I didn't have the eyes to see it, to allow it in fully, to let it lead me and guide me. But even in those brief moments, in the depths of my unconsciousness, it still managed to find a little crevice or a little way to creep in. So the more I made space, the more that I purified the vessel of my heart, the more that I cleansed my water, the more that this grace had space to fully take over and guide me and lead me. And it's so beautiful. And I want everyone to understand that grace is our divine birthright. I really believe this. I mean, it's entirely my opinion, and a strong one at that, but I do believe grace is our divine birthright. You do not have to be special or chosen. Grace is for each and every one of us. It is the love of the universe, the love of God, source, energy, deity, whatever name you want to give it for us, to that which we are inherently connected to and a part of. So whatever you are going through right now, and if you're struggling, and if you're anything like I was, and I still have moments, but if you're anything like I was, and you're suffering, and you're in pain, and you feel abandoned, or whatever it is, the story that's going on in your mind, I want you to know that if you take that one step, just that one step, you can open yourself up to allow the floodgates of grace to open up, to just pour down on you. You don't need to think about when it will happen and how it will happen. It will happen. You just have to prepare yourself, because when that grace takes over and when you feel that love, it's a love that the mind cannot conceive of. Really, it's a love, and I thought I was a love ball my whole life, but it is a love that the mind cannot conceive of. When that love takes over, it opens you up to the magic and the yumminess that is life, the beauty and the gift, the real gift of being alive. And it makes every day magical. The simplest things, the simplest things of your day that you would maybe have never have thought about before become divine, become sacred. So if you stayed with me till now, I hope you're excited for the story, because I'm excited to share it with you, and I hope it does serve as a balm to your heart wherever you are on your journey, and as a catalyst to inspire you to take that step if you've been feeling called or pulled, if universe has been talking to you, because it usually always is, then I hope that this can just inspire you to take that step. Okay, so before I get into sharing the story, I want to invite you to join me in invoking the blessings and the grace of all of the great masters and teachers, right back to the first, to the eternal teacher, God, Source, Universe, the Divine Mother, the Divine Father. So please join me, set your intention. You can say it in any language that you're comfortable with. Let us collectively together invoke the blessings and the grace of all of the great masters and the great teachers. May we be aligned to their love, to their wisdom, to their guidance. May they align us to our highest alignment, to our highest truth, to our highest timeline, for the highest good of all. Allow yourself to open up to absorbing the vibrations. Now you can skip the next part if you want to. I'm going to do a short mantra in Sanskrit and a little bit of chanting. You can skip straight to the story, or if you want to stay with me, just set the intention to absorb the vibrations, to absorb what is aligned for you today. Open your heart up. You can close your eyes, just absorb the vibrations, or simply do as you feel, be exactly how you are, how you're most comfortable. Into my spiritual awakening, I went into a deep karmic cleansing, into a deep purge. It was another dark night of the ego, but this one was particularly challenging for my mind, for my ego. I felt completely abandoned by the universe, abandoned by God. I was questioning my journey of the last 2 years, and I was essentially just broken down completely. And what pained me the most, aside from the triggering event, was that I felt that this deep, this beautiful connection that I had nurtured and opened up to over the past 2 years had just been switched off like that. I couldn't connect, I couldn't feel the presence of love, of divinity. I couldn't feel any of that. And it was shattering. It was completely shattering in that time. So about 2 months into this purging cycle, I am roaming about on YouTube, and I go to one of the Vedic astrologers that I normally follow, and that particular day he suggested that it was a good time for my sign to recite the Hanuman Chalisa. And I felt a little nudging from inside, and I was like, okay, I think I should do this. And ironically, many times when my horoscope had been read or my kundali had been read, I was suggested to do Hanuman Chalisa, that it would be really good for my soul growth, for my spiritual growth, for my overall growth. But I didn't listen. But this day, that I felt an inner nudging, and I surrendered to the call, and I said, okay, I'm gonna do this. Despite my broken Hindi, my bad pronunciation of the words, I'm just gonna try and teach this to myself, and I'm gonna see where it leads me. So what I did was I set an intention, and I connected to the energies of Hanuman, and I said something along the lines of, may your grace be upon me, and may those qualities that you are revered for your devotion, for your strength, for your power, for your courage, for your right use of will, for your intelligence, for all of those beautiful qualities that you are known and admired for, may those qualities that I'm requiring right now be cultivated in me. And then I surrendered to him and to that light, and I didn't know where it was going to lead. And I started I would listen every day. So I would listen, and then I started writing. So I would listen to a verse, and then I would write the verse. And it was a little bit hilarious, but it worked for me. And very quickly, within the first few days of me starting this practice, things started happening in my reality. So the first thing that happened was that we went to a friend's house, and just that day she had received a mini Hanuman Chalisa, and it had the Hindi and the English translation, and she gifted it to me that day, and she said, I believe this may have come for you. So I took it happily, and believe it or not, it has not left my bag for 3 years. So wherever I go, it is my constant companion, and it's kept me company on all my travels. So yeah. And then 5 days, exactly 5 days after I start this practice, and this is an important part of the story to remember, a friend of mine messages me, and he has no idea that I've started this practice, and he sends me a message, and in the message there is a video of an ashram and a picture of his guru, and under it there's one line that says, may Baba fix your energy. And when I read that message, I was like, whatever. That is the absolute truth. I was in complete ignorance. I didn't even think to explore further. Who is this Baba? Where is this ashram? Nothing like that. And so life continues, and I will share with you one thing that happened for me quite quickly was that my the fears of my mind, which by the way were huge and enormous. Yes, I'm a scaredy cat. This mind is a scaredy cat. And you can ask anybody who knew me at the beginning of my spiritual awakening journey. One of the things that I was the most frightened of was the darkness, of ghosts and other beings and entities, and because I had a lot of that in my first year. I had some very scary experiences for the mind, okay, I never actually experienced any harm, nothing happened to me, but the experiences were very mentally scary. So one of the first things that started happening for me was this fear started reducing, and I started to observe that those energies no longer interacted with my field. So even if I could sense something, it's not that it was coming to me, or I was not experiencing it in the way that I had initially. So that was one major thing that happened very quickly on for me. The second thing that was absolutely beautiful is that I experienced almost a union, almost a merging with the mantra. So in a dream, I would hear the mantra chanting itself. I would wake up in the middle of the night or in the morning, and the mantra would be chanting itself. And that was something divine, and I really became fused with the mantra. So as life moved along and I kind of came out of that particular purge, I started to listen to one particular version of Hanuman Chalisa by Krishna Das and Nina Rao. I really encourage you to listen to it. It's absolutely beautiful. And for 1 year during my yoga practice, it was on repeat, and I would do all of my practice just listening to this chant. So fast forward to about 6 months later, and life was heading for a realignment, I would say. I think I was being called to step into deeper alignment with self. And what that brought up for me was issues of self-trust, something that I had struggled with a lot in my life, just trusting myself, trusting my choices, trusting my decisions. And the choice that was coming up for me, or what was being shown to me in my reality, was that it was time for me maybe to leave the place and the space which had been my safe container for those 2 years of my awakening. And I was scared. So my fear arose again that, am I going to be okay? Am I going to be able to navigate the world and life, with this newfound awareness, with this new process of purification that is taking place and opening up to consciousness and higher dimensions and all of the things that come with awakening. Am I going to be able to navigate it by myself? And also, it was a call to walk away from people and places that I loved again. So another destructive process in a way. So around this time, I tell my now husband, I said, let's just go away, let's go somewhere in the mountains, and we decide to go to a place called Kufri. And right before I went there, I was having a manicure pedicure, and Ashmit, who is my mani-pedi guy, we have a lot of wonderful chats, but that particular day he started telling me a story. And he starts to tell me a story about a Baba on a train. And he said that there was a Baba on a train, and it was the time of it was still the British rule, the colonial rule in India. And the conductor kicked the Baba off the train. And a lot of the local people tried to warn the conductor and say that, listen, this is not a normal Baba. Please don't do this. But he wouldn't listen, and he said, you know, your superstitions, and I don't believe in any of this. And when the Baba got off the train, he went and sat under a tree, and the train would not move. Hours passed like this, and the train wouldn't move. Engineers were called, you know, specialists were called. Nothing was happening. That train was not moving. So finally the conductor relented, and he called the Baba back on the train. And when he called the Baba back on the train moved. And apparently, I think according to the story, where that place is, there is now a name of the Baba. They're on the railway station. So after Ashmit finished telling me this story, I looked at him and I said, okay, but why are you telling me this? And he said, no, ma'am, I thought you were going to that place. That's where this Baba has his ashram. And I said, no, but I'm not going there. And then, you know, I started thinking, and I said, okay, maybe there's a little bit of guidance here for me. So I looked at the place we were going, and I said, okay, is there any Hanuman temple there, or is there anything to do with Hanuman over there? And I saw that nearby there was a temple called the Jaku Hanuman temple, and it had a huge orange statue of Hanuman. And so I told my husband, I was like, we need to go here. He said, okay. I'm always telling my husband that I need to go here, we need to go here, by the way. So off we go, and we visit the temple, and we do our prayers and our surrender, and then I decide to go and sit under a tree, and I offer some prasad to the tree, and I just wanted to sit there and extend my gratitude and my love to the energy, to the light that had aligned me to be there. And all of a sudden, I sensed a presence right behind me on my left side. And when I opened my eyes, a lot of people were staring at me. They were looking in my direction. And so when I turned to look, I see a huge monkey peacefully sitting there, looking me straight in the eye and eating the prasad, the offering, one by one. Just looking at me until he finished the last one, and then he just wandered off. My husband had gone to wash his hands, so he comes back and he looked at me and he said, okay, that was something. So we go for coffee, and we're meant to be in this place 2 more nights, but you know, something happened. We looked at each other and we were like, okay, whatever we came here for, it's done. Whatever the energy exchange was, it's done. Let's go. So we go back home, and about 2 weeks later, I am reading an astrology blog, and suddenly there's a story about the Baba on the train. So then I paused, and I'm like, okay, in a span of 2 weeks, 2 people have told me about the Baba on the train. Who is this Baba on the train? Okay, Baba, I'm like, who are you, Baba? Who are you? And in the story, he gives a name. So he says Neem Karoli Baba. And then, you know, it was like a light, that moment just happened. And my mental computer was like, and I understood that, okay, the Krishna Das, who sings that beautiful version of Hanuman Chalisa that I was addicted to, is a great devotee of this Neem Karoli Baba. And then my mind computer is like, and it goes back all the way back to 5 days after I started this practice of Hanuman Chalisa, back to the message that my friend sent me. And I see that the ashram that he has sent me is Neem Karoli Baba's ashram in in Kenchidam. And the picture that he sent me was of Neem Karoli Baba. So then I was like, oh Maharajji, oh Baba, I was like, I'm so sorry, please forgive my ignorance. I called out to the energies of Hanuman, and he came, because some people say that Neem Karoli Baba or Maharajji was an avdut, an avatar of Hanuman, or an avdut. He has imbibed all the energies of Hanuman. So then I told my husband that, okay, we need to go to Kenchi, and I need to just go there, and I need to give my thanks. I need to extend my love to this energy. So we go to Kenchi, and all I can say is that it was beautiful, and I went and I extended my gratitude to Hanuman, to Maharajji, and I just surrendered. I said, whatever you want to take away, take it, and whatever you want to bring, I open myself up to receive. And then we left, and very soon after that, I did end up leaving that space that was, my haven during the initial phases of my awakening. There was so many signs and so many guidances that I received during that time period that it was time to leave. And no matter sometimes that what you need to do, what is the right step for yourself, what the steps you need to take, the direction in which you need to move, and you also know that you have to move out of that comfort zone. Doesn't make it easier, but I will tell you one thing, that when you have grace upon you, and when you really anchor into that knowing that you are protected, and no matter the destruction that you're experiencing in your life, whether it is losing people that you love, moving away from a space that you love, whatever is the destructive process you're going through, when you understand that you are held so deeply in a container of love, and that this love is only going to align you deeper to yourself, deeper to your dharma, it makes that process of surrender a little easier. So I left that place, and I was still nervous because I really didn't know at that point, okay, what does this next phase look like? I've died, I've been reborn, I keep dying. I mean, where is this all going? So the mind, the ego, it's still there. It has questions, it wants to know, it needs to know. So one day we'd gone on a little trip to Dehradun, which is a hill station at the foothills of the Himalayas. And I was doing yoga on the balcony, and I was listening to that Krishna Das's version of Hanuman Chalisa, and I hear a voice, and it says, move to Dehradun. And I was like, because my husband and I, we'd been wanting to move, but the place wasn't coming, that click wasn't coming. So I said, okay, baby, I was like, do you want to move to Dehradun? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. There was no debate, no questions, there was nothing. It was just a straight out yes. So moving along, we're then in Africa, and we break the news to my parents on safari that we're gonna move to Dehradun, and unbelievably everybody in our reality is in alignment with this move, okay? So I call my best friend, and I say to him, listen, you need to help me try and find a place in Dehradun. And he said, Sim, he said, there is an apartment available in my tower right above me, and they've just put it up for rent. And I was like, please go and see it. So I'm in Tanzania, my bestie is in Dehradun, and he is just an angel. So he goes and he does a video call, and he shows me this flat. And we're sitting in Tanzania, and I just know that, okay, this is the space. Like, I have this deep feeling, this is the place that's gonna be our home for the next part of the journey. And I'm super excited, because I think I always had this secret desire in my being to live in the mountains, or to live near the mountains. And yeah, it was a special moment. Sorry, it was a special moment. So, I'm buffering. No, I'm frozen. Okay, so we come back from India, and we come back from Tanzania, and that very morning we drive from Delhi to Dehradun, and in the car I am doing my meditation, I'm doing my mantras, I'm speaking to the universe, and I'm like, please give me a sign that this is this is the home for us, this is the space for us. And when we open that front door, right there, right next to the front door, there's no other picture, nothing else except for one picture of Hanuman. And I took that as a sign, and I said, okay. And then we moved to Dehradun, and in the initial phase, so two things I will share from this part of the story. So we move, and within the first 2 nights of us moving to Dehradun, we had not yet moved into our new place, but I received the darshan, the blessing, the presence of Hanuman, and it was at night. I was sleeping, and I felt this huge energy, this divine light just pouring in, and I was vibrating because it was so much energy. And then I saw Hanumanji. Of course, I'm a scaredy cat, as I said, so I had been asking him, please come to me in a way that I can feel you and I can know you, but I'm scared. And of course, his energy is 1,000,000,000 billion watts more than mine, so I was like, I need to be able to absorb this energy. But yeah, that was one thing that happened when we moved here. And the second thing is that, initially when you move somewhere, even though it's in alignment and even though you're guided, the mind, the ego can still crop up. That fearful part of us that feels separate, that that wants to know what's happening, that wants to be in control. It wasn't sure about this move, and I kid you not, that every time I would leave my apartment and I would go on the road, I would suddenly see a photo of Maharajji on the awning of a store, on somebody's car window, in a random shop I would go to, and any time that I had doubts about my journey, about me being there, the high frequency energies of the masters would connect. I would either see them, I would read a line, something would happen that would just help me settle back into that knowing, into that deep understanding, into that deep surrender, that state of surrender and knowing and trusting that everything is unfolding just as it's meant to, in divine perfection, in divine timing, in divine alignment. I had to fix the mountain. I hope you enjoyed that sharing. So, if you have been getting signs, feeling pulled to connect with the universe or a particular form of energy or the angels or anything like that, please take that step, okay? If you would like to open yourself up to receiving grace, I would say there are two steps to that. And the first one is open yourself up to the belief system that you are a divine being that is worthy of grace, that is worthy of the love of God, of the universe, that you are worthy. Okay, because you are a child of divinity. You are worthy of that divine love. And the second step is, I would start a practice of cultivating the love that lives within you, the love that you already are, so make that small journey. There's a teacher, a great spiritual teacher says this, but he's like, make that small, short journey from here down to here, okay? Allow your awareness and presence to spend some time in this space, in your heart, because your heart is the bridge between you and everyone, between you and everything, between you and the higher dimensions. So spend some time cultivating this and making space in this, and that might call for you to check in with your heart to see what it is holding on to. Is it holding on to grief? Is it holding on to anger? Is it holding on to grudges? Is it sitting in lack of forgiveness towards others, towards yourself, towards life? You know, are you holding on to blockages of this space? Because this is the great magnet of manifestation, actually, your heart, you know? So when this space is cleansed and open, then we open ourselves up to that which we already are, and to that which is also our birthright, which is living in the embrace of grace, you know. So this is a small practice that I would do, is just every day. It doesn't have to be super long. Just do it for however long you feel called to do it. Take a few breaths, as many as it takes to get your mind to quieten it down. It doesn't have to be completely still, it just has to quieten down. What I've found is generally it takes people about 8 deep breaths for the mind to slowly stop its chatter, you know? Put your hand on your heart, because sometimes that helps us in anchoring into the connection. And ask your heart, ask yourself, how am I doing? You know, is there anything that I'm holding on to that I can let go of? Is there any stories that I'm holding on to? Is there any pain that I'm holding on to? Is there anything that is blocking me? You can just simply ask this question: what is blocking me from receiving grace? And you will get an answer, okay? Once you come into present moment awareness, that is the gateway to your intuition. That is the gateway to divine connection. That's why a lot of the great teachers always go on about the present moment, present moment. When you are in present moment awareness, when you are in presence, okay, then there is a stillness that occurs here. And when there is a stillness that occurs here, divine flow, you can open yourself up to the divine flow. It is always there, it is always happening, but you can make yourself available to hearing, to feeling, to sensing what it is that flow, that intelligence wants to speak to you. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. It's my first one, so I'm sorry if I rambled on, but I'm still getting the hang of it. And I just thank you for your time and for your energy, and all my love to you.